Well, good Thursday morning. This is Voss Graham, and I'm here to talk about something that's a little different today. What can you do to organize the flow of important information and capture and protect the intellectual capital of the organization while improving the overall efficiency of the organization? That's our topic today, knowledge management. All right. Now, again, I'm Voss Graham. I'm your organizational architect. I've been, I've been around in business for 50 years. I'm in the process of kind of leaving something behind for newer and younger entrepreneurs to utilize because I've been a successful entrepreneur for 36 years and had the opportunity of working with some outstanding leaders and people within the organizations that I have helped to grow. And it's time to share and give back. And there's no selling today, so don't panic. All right. So let's go to a quick review of the sub processes under this big umbrella called knowledge management. So we need to identify critical information. What is the critical information within your company? How the information flows inside the company, patents and trademarks that you may have, what to do, proprietary knowledge. That's a critical one, very closely related to the next topic, the protection process for intellectual capital. This is primarily those of you who are in manufacturing and have very unique ways of building things or processes or technologies, as well as professional firms that have intellectual and proprietary knowledge that they have gained over time. Now we also have legal documents and then confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements. So now let me just kind of go through and talk about a little bit of each one. First, identifying critical information. What would the critical information be within your organization? I would suggest that you take out a pad and pencil and start writing down what areas, or just start identifying what are the critical information points that you need to ensure. I'll give you a couple of hints. Customer database, customer records, these type of things. You need to have a track record for that so that you can pull information out. Vendors, receipts, this sort of thing, tax records, that's very important. But you never know when you'll be audited, so you better have your tax information easily attainable and ready for audits. Now, information flow. How does information flow within your organization? Is there a pattern? Is it driven by emails and data flows, or is it driven by word of mouth? Now, information flow in my book also includes the people who have the experience and the insights from that experience to be able to share that and mentor the younger people within the organization so that they will have that advantage of not having to recreate the wheel in the areas of knowledge and what goes on in the organization, where the organization came from, how it was built, what were the key factors that made this company unique. All of that information needs to flow. In fact, I will say this: you bring on a new salesperson and you don't have some background on your own company, and they go out into the field and somebody asks them a very basic question about the history of their company, and they look at the person and go, duh, because they don't know. They never heard it. That's not identifying your critical information flows. And there's a lot of little hidden critical information flows that are not exposed often enough or shared with the appropriate people so that they are in the know. And information flow is critically important. How it moves through the organization. You have informal as well as formal processes or interactions with people. But I think the mentoring process is one of the best that can be developed within your organization. Patents and trademarks, obviously, you would have brought in an attorney to do that for the most part. These are very valuable, and you also have to, nurture them and pay attention, make sure that somebody else is not borrowing, which is a little tough for the international market from everything that I've heard and experienced with my clients. There are countries that have no understanding of patents, trademarks, copyrights, etc., and they just copy at will. Interesting story one time in the Wall Street Journal was about the 4 Apple stores that were open in, I think it was Shanghai, and they were not Apple stores. They were actually some Chinese gentleman had gone in and taken extensive pictures and notes of an actual Apple store, and then had recreated it within his company. And again, I'm not sure if he was using real Apple products or knockoffs that were kind of maybe borrowed from the production process in China. So interesting little note there. So anyway, patents and trademarks, you need to pay attention to. Proprietary knowledge. These are unique experiences that you have. I can tell you that I've got a lot of this proprietary knowledge in how we go about executing strategy and marketing strategies, sales growth, and this sort of thing. It's based on time and trial and error for the most part, and you've got to be very protective of that so that you don't lose your competitive advantage. Protection process for intellectual capital. Now, this is an interesting concept. Now, I know a few clients that actually have created separate organizations to house their intellectual capital, copyrights, trademarks, etc., and registered statements, so that they can keep it separate from the general corporation and or the business, and that way they always have something of value and for the long term, particularly if it's an entrepreneurial driven intellectual capital. That's a little tidbit of important information for you to think about. But you can have that where all of your intellectual capital goes into into this corporation, so to speak, or LLC, whatever you build, and it protects it from others. It also keeps it protected from your own company in case something goes wrong. I mention this because we have seen intellectual capital get borrowed from time to time. It's also helpful to, like I said, this other account or this corporation LLC, it can have something like the entrepreneur's name and media behind it or something of that nature. If it's videos or training or some type of processes. Anyway, you get the drift. Intellectual capital you must protect at all time because it is your competitive advantage. Legal documents, obviously you can have an attorney that keeps most of that, but you should have your own copies. By the way, speaking of copies, a lot of people just use filing cabinets, and that's kind of dangerous in one sense. If one of those acts of God happens and you lose your file cabinets to the wind or rain or something of that nature, then you have a problem. I know there's a lot of organizations now that set up the ability to actually scan documents into an electronic system and then go off and are stored. I don't know if you can see that this little machine right back here. This is a snap scan, and it's a system that allows me to scan papers, and it immediately transfers it up to a cloud-based storage system, which is pretty handy because I can create filing tabs for it and then find documents from several years back and not have piles and piles of paper. Now, am I perfect at doing that? No, I'm not, based on the condition of my desk. However, it's something that I'm getting used to and I'm doing more and more of because I just think it's a better way to store things. Plus, I can retrieve it from anywhere since it's cloud-based. I just pull it down, and there's systems out there. There's Google Docs, there's Evernote, which is one of the ones that I use a lot, and they store this for you, and uh, it's pretty cool. Anyway, confidentiality and non-disclosure statements. I've had to sign many of these with the clients that I work with because of the sensitive nature of the work that we do and the fact that they do not want it plastered all over social media or my advertising, etc. And I value that. As a former banker, I totally get the concept of confidentiality, and I believe that everybody else should. You never know when somebody else is listening. I was appalled one day when I was on a train. My wife and I were on a vacation, and we were going to the location, and we were traveling on a train from New York City into Rhode Island, and there was a gentleman sitting on the train right behind us on his cell phone, loudly talking about his clients and sensitive information. I thought that was just a total disgrace for this gentleman to be doing that. I mean, if I were a competitor, I could have taken names and data and then had that available to go compete with him. And that was just kind of dumb on his part to be doing that. And yet that's things that occur because of egos or people don't realize how loud they're talking on their cell phones, etc. And they don't realize that's basically public information when you're shouting it out over the cell phone. So have backup plans for your data, your critical data. Offsite storage is preferred. Be sure to focus on all the customer databases and related data so that you can easily do research on customers, calculate best customers, do all the analytical work that you need to be able to do by storing. If you're a professional firm and you do a lot of videos, save the videos in multiple locations. So if something happens, I mean, there are occasions when software products all of a sudden shut down and all your stuff is gone, or you get blackballed, so to speak, by one of the big social media because they don't think you're, their algorithm or their robots sense something wrong and they shut down your accounts and that sort of thing. All of a sudden your videos are gone. So just be very careful. Have multiple backups whenever possible for critical information. All right. Well, that's it for today. Again, it's a pleasure to share this information. This was believe it or not, part 13 of a 14-part series. So we're nearing the deadline or the end of the run on these major business processes. Tomorrow we'll be talking about communication, which may take longer than the norm because communication is a very important process for your organizations, and therefore I want to make sure that we cover it more in depth. Anyway, I appreciate it. You have a great evening or afternoon and evening, and I look forward to sharing more with you tomorrow. You can also see any of the 12 past presentations. They're all housed on on my Interactive Consulting Group Inc. Page in Facebook, as well as on YouTube under my channel. So you can go look at Voss Graham and find my channel. You'll find all my videos and you can watch any of them. Anyway, thanks. You take care. Have a great day.